Welcome to Apex Esports League. Tonight we are live with the final round on iRacing for the Pagnian Imports Porsche 911 Championship, and to finish off this 5-round series we're heading to the USA for Long Beach Street Circuit. So it's going to be very interesting seeing these 911 GT3Rs cruise around Long Beach. The session tonight, we've got 10 minutes of practice. Weather conditions are set to partly cloudy. We've got 10 minutes of qualifying, and then the race is 40 minutes. Cars are capped at 47% fuel, so it's going to be required for the drivers to head in to grab some fuel to be able to finish the race. It's a standing start and restarts after safety car is single file with lap cars to the back. And then the standings after the 4th round, we have a narrow lead for the championship with Blake Urquhart sitting on 500 points, and Stephen Banks only trailing by 4 points with 496. And then the rest of the podium is going to be pretty close. So we're missing Sebastian Vardell, who couldn't make the rest of the series, and then that leaves James White, Damien Cross, Robbie Bradbury and Mark Cochran all within shot for those top spots. Last week we were at Charlotte Motor Speedway Road Course, where we had Blake Urquhart, our championship leader, take a clean sweep, having taken the pole position, the fastest lap bonus points, and then securing the victory. So we'll check out the track for Long Beach Street Circuit. So the track length is 3.14 kilometers long, and then you can see a few drivers already loading up into it. So we'll cross over onto the track and we'll bring in some audio. We'll also be having Ryan jumping in with us to co-commentate once again. Welcome back again, Ryan.
Thank you, it's bloody good to be back. Hopefully this will be a really good race.
Yeah, expecting it should be a lot of fun. We've seen some great racing here at Long Beach before. We haven't done it in the Porsches on iRacing here, but it is definitely a favourite for Apex Esports League, and probably not so much for a lot of the drivers. They are always quite scared of all those walls and just how solid they are.
I absolutely love this track. I don't think it'll be great in this car because you can see crashes already. But I love straight circuits, especially this one. Not so fond of Detroit so far, but I love this track. It's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Reminds me a little bit of Surfers Paradise, actually.
Yes, definitely is. It is one of my favourites. So we've currently got 10 drivers loading into the session. We're expecting some newcomers as well. So we should see some debuts. And a few new members just testing the waters, getting ready for our V8 supercars to commence next week. We have Michael Quain, who is debuting tonight. Well, the best of luck to Michael Quain in his opening race. He's even brandishing the Pagnian logo on his car as well, so very fitting.
Fairly similar feel to what we normally see though, minus that. Few names that I can see that are missing, noticeably Sebastian Vardell being away with other commitments, but fairly similar grid to what we normally see, which is good. Not too much happening just yet. There's only 3 times on the board right now. I'm not entirely sure if they're actual race times or if they're just the pit exit times, but so far the fastest is Urquhart with a 1:19.1, followed by Damien Cross with a 1:19.4, and then Stephen Banks with a 1:20. Actually, Robbie Bradbury just popped up with a 1:18.5. So
yeah, he's sneaking in a very quick time. And then Damien Cross, yeah, just bumped down Blake.
Everyone's bumping down Blake. Might have a bit of a rough night tonight.
And they've all probably got their eyes on the championship, especially with Banks being very close points-wise. And he had a great round last week. And the week before, so he's holding on to that very small margin between himself and Blake. So he can easily take that win tonight.
Yeah, he'll definitely want to pick up as much points as he can. There's not much to spare between first and second place, points-wise per round, but he's going to want as many pole position, well, as close to pole position as he can be, and just as many points as he can pick up. Fastest lap, qualifying, race, as much as he can do. Only 4 points to the lead of the championship. He's going to be pretty committed tonight.
Yeah, that's it. With only a small gap, that 4-point margin, it could very much well be the fastest lap bonus points, which is 10 points. That could easily be what wins the championship.
So far, all the drivers except for 3 have put a time on the board, and that's the order goes as follows: Bradbury, Banks, Cross, Urquhart, Quain, White, and Gander. Fastest is a 118.5. Actually, the fastest is 118.570, followed by Banks, which has a 118.573, so 3,000ths of a second between them.
Not much difference there. It is very tight.
Raptor actually might be in a rough night with this connection, because I've got a couple of messages just popping up here saying he's been disconnected due to packet loss and all these sort of things, so hopefully he can make the race.
Yeah, hopefully those connection issues can be resolved. And then loading into the qualifying session now. And it's going to be crucial here. There's 25 points on the line for getting that pole position. And there's a difference of about 3 points between qualifying first and second. That can be almost enough to close that gap in for those margins we're seeing on the championship standings.
Another thing with street circuits, you just saw last week there were so many people just spinning out of control, but they actually, well, I say most of them, a lot of them were actually okay after the spin, because there wasn't anything around. They might have ended up in the cars or just on the track and you off your spin. You've got concrete walls either side of you, and there's not many tyre barriers in the braking zone, so you're pretty stuffed if you're trying to set a qualifying lap and you nick one of the walls. Then you've got to completely restart and repair your car, and you'll lose absolutely all your tyre temperature. Which in the race, it might not be as costly. It'll still be extremely costly, don't get me wrong, but you definitely won't get that time back if you lose all of your temperature and pressure in qualifying.
And even while they're trying to get every little bit of track to be able to use to get that perfect lap, even a time zero contact to the wall will invalidate that lap time. So it means another lap around before that lap will actually count. When we're seeing 118s, only 10 minutes to qualify, it's going to be leaving them not too much time to be able to rectify any tiny mistakes. For those of you joining us for the stream too, don't forget to hit that follow button so you will be notified when we go live on Monday nights for iRacing, and also Project Cars 2 on Thursday nights. And then it's not over at the end of this Porsche series. We will be starting the V8 Supercars. So we've got another 5 weeks of V8s coming up. There'll be plenty of us to be running that, not only on iRacing, but also Project Cars. So it's going to be a fantastic 5 weeks, seeing all these guys get out there and tackle all this in the V8s.
What's even more special is 4 of the 5 tracks on the Supercars series this week on iRacing are all Aussie tracks. There's one that's not Aussie track because iRacing can't be bothered putting Sandown in just yet, but it's really special to have 4 out of 5 weeks being an Australian track.
It's going to be spectacular, and very eager to be able to see Sandown join the ranks, and we'll be able to have 5 gorgeous Australian tracks to drive around on.
Oh, it'll be fantastic. Hopefully we get more though. Always want more.
Yes, definitely. It'd be great if one day we can see the lineup. It may be a long time coming, but it would be fantastic.
No, it definitely will. A bit like what they're doing with Formula One right now, I suppose.
Yes, definitely.
I've just seen Sam Tucker's actually just reconnected. I had a look at his thing, whether that's a lot of his ping and that sort of thing doesn't look anywhere near as bad as it was to disconnect him, so hopefully he'll be alright for the race.
He's out on track and appears to be doing alright. There's no blinking going on. Hopefully he's got that issue sorted. We've got Blake Urquhart with the pole position at this stage at 118.6.
Still really early games though, yep, because
I think he did just scrape a wall. He's parking the car up, so he's sounded pretty hefty. So it's at least invalidated this lap. For those of you on the streams, well, don't forget to jump in the chat and then do use those sound effects controls down underneath, so that way you can actually cheer, applaud, boo, a whole bunch of different sound effects that will be recorded over the stream. So you can have some fun during any instance of the race, and then also throw your support towards our drivers.
what Urquhart looks like he was doing was he just backed off a bit because he was being held up by the car in front of him, so he just pulled off to the side because it looked like it just stuck his lap, so he just pulled off to the side and let everyone who was in the queue pass so he could get a bit of clean air and set a really nice lap. Because that 1:18.6 definitely not the fastest we saw. The fastest we saw in the last session was an 18.5.
There's a lot more in it. We'll jump on board for a lap with someone in a moment. I can hear all the noise from the Porsche 911 burning around the Long Beach Street circuit.
So far the order is Urquhart, Banks, White, and Gander into the top 5.
Jump on board. Robbie Bradbury's just commencing a lap. He's coming down the turn 1 now. Slippery. Nice tight turn 2 around the fountain.
Using absolutely every little bit of braking. Yeah, he's absolutely flying on his lap. Brake at the 200, turn in nice and early, get close to the inside wall as you can. Straighten it up and then brake by the just before the 200 forward, turn it in, climb that curve a little bit. It's not hugely, it doesn't usually upset the car, but if you go too close to that inside wall, then you'll end up with a track limit penalty and it'll lose your lap too anyway. So just past 440 brakes, he turns in as close. He picked the wall.
It may have invalidated his time. It's going to be frustrating. Yeah, it must have. So it pulls her up just before the last corner.
He'll be spewing. It's about 2.5 minutes left of the session anyway, so he might just be going out to get a bit of cold side pressure practice or something like that, but he won't get another really decent lap in, I don't think.
No, it's going to be pretty hard to be able to get that out lap done. They can tuck in for one golden lap. Oh, and that's just probably ended for Banks as well. Just gone for a spin along the pit straight. A little bit of slip there from Sam Tucker.
So far the order with 2 minutes left of the session is Urquhart with a 1:18.66, followed by Banks with a 1:18.71, and then Bradbury with a 1:19. 1:19.0 for the 7. It's interesting why they're not faster times in qualifying than practice. Might just be getting held up by traffic or just not doing a good enough job.
Could almost be holding back that little bit, just being a little bit conscious of making any contact, and then possibly feeling that bit of stress, having to be able to get a good lap time in for that qualifying. There's a lot riding on it for the championship.
Certainly is. Doesn't look like we're seeing any real change to the leaderboard. 2 drivers in the 1:18s. There's 3 in the 1:19s, and then there are 3 more in the 1:20s. And there's a 1:21.9 and a 1:22.4 to finish up the pack.
Now with only 40 seconds left on the clock, drivers only got a little bit of time to be able to cross that control line, and they should have enough time to get one more lap in. With most of them, this will be the final lap of the session.
Not entirely sure right now if everyone's just cruising around and trying to get as much practice as they can, or if they're actually still trying to set a lap. It doesn't look like heaps of them are flying, but they're still definitely turning quick laps. Maybe not enough to change much out of the standings though.
They may even be out there just race testing at this point. Try and get the feel for the car with the heavier load of fuel. Cross only just almost gets across the control line to get another lap in. So you just crossed it as the timer got to 0.
A lot of drivers now pulling up at the end of just past the finish line.
So that's all our drivers now done. So we'll bring up those qualifying results. So we have Blake Urquhart taking pole position, and then we've got Stephen Banks, Robbie Bradbury, James White, Sam Tucker. Actually, that's the wrong one that I've actually brought up. Blake Urquhart, Stephen Banks, Robbie Bradbury, James White, Sam Tucker, Damien Cross, Michael Quain, Russell Gander, Nathan Peters, and Philip Buckland. So that is our grid starting order. So we'll be back on the track now as the drivers gear up to get ready to start the final race. It's just waiting on that session to finalise. Quain's out there getting as much track time as he can by the looks of things.
Might just be trying to better his lap a little bit. I don't know if he made the control line, but there's 5 minutes left of the session anyway, so he's not going to get to the finish.
And that's just ended the session, ready for the drivers to grid up now. So gridding up for the final time in the Porsche 911s this season. Drivers to hit that grid button.
Doesn't look like the front runners have jumped into the grid just yet, but
yeah, just waiting on Urquhart, Banks and Bradbury at this stage. start to load in.
Seems to do this a lot, doesn't he? This
does.
must be tactics.
It may be a bit of psychological influence on the drivers.
He does this every race. Even when I was racing with him, he does it. I don't know what he's doing, but he must just be trying to annoy these drivers.
And here he is. He's ready. He's about to see the lights drop. Last time in the Porsche 911 Championship.
Here the red rise and
oh,
that's a
big jump start. So he's just taken off.
Handbrake mustn't have worked. So I had
that was Banks. Yeah, by the time you'd already been given the black flag for it, you might as well just keep going, I suppose. Just try and get back to that pit lane as fast as possible.
He's not going to be happy with himself.
No, to be only 4 points away from the championship win and to get a jump start. It looks like a pretty good, clean getaway.
But they don't seem to be doing it, do they?
No.
It's no fun. Oh, someone's hit the wall. Wasn't a huge crash, just nicked it on the way through. It looked like Quain, I think. Just nicked the wall going through. His car doesn't look too bad.
The game is not too bad, just minor scrapes. It'll give you a few time zeros, so which will be handy, as they will have to end up serving a drive-through penalty only at the time they reach 17 incident points.
You look too many times up, might knock your steering around a little bit.
Banks just feeling in the serve, that stopping hold. Urquhart starting to pull away a little bit too.
He's too. 9 tenths of a second.
That's pretty good for first lap.
It's probably smart for Banks to go in now, just so he's not in all the dirty area. He can gain as much time as he can get back as he possibly can. Might not be able to take, or I suppose he can take a little bit of fuel on, because might not. If he gets a safety car, he might only have to fill up that little bit less, which can definitely come in handy on the safety car because it bunches up the entire field and it doesn't let anyone go in straight away. So if you have to fill up that little bit less, like that definitely helped me in the 1000, because I crashed out in the first 7 laps and I lifted back to the pits, and by the time the safety car came at the end of everyone else's fuel window, I still had 7 laps of fuel. So everyone bunched up and I caught up to the end of the queue. I went to behind everyone else and I came out like 3rd or something like that. So I was quite happy with that. But
a little bit of wall scrape at that hairpin. I think that may have been Bradbury.
Whoa, Quain!
Oh, Quain's had a slip. Not sure if there was any wall contact with that.
Welcome to the series, Quain.
Banks now finished his stop and hold. So hopefully he would have actually taken on a little bit of fuel in that once you're taking the time to head down pit lane. May only be 1 lap, but as you said, it can definitely make a big difference, especially if those race conditions change as we go down.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially on a safety car. Under normal safety car rules, like in real life, you can normally just dive straight into the pits and you come out in whatever position you go in, or however much gap you had. But under iRacing safety car rules, it bunches the entire field up, like I said. So you can have that little bit less fuel. That'll save you heaps of time in the pits.
Thanks, Mr. Winner. I'll quickly check out our sound alerts extension, see what's going on. I did just notice that it didn't come up on the screen for me.
And the order after the first 3 laps goes Urquhart, Bradbury, White, Ross and Tucker are the top 5. Only 5 seconds separating them, or 4.8 seconds separating them all together at the moment. There's 2 seconds between Bradbury and Urquhart right now, so he's making as much lead as he can possibly get. Banks, the current championship runner-up, is currently a lap down, so this won't be very decent for his championship, but he'll try and pull back as much as he can. He's in the middle of the pack at the moment, so I don't think it'll take very much at all for him to force his way back up, but he'll push to smack the wall or something like that, so he can get that little bit extra. But 4 points to go from the championship, he's going to be chasing as much as he can. This isn't the way that he wanted his race to go, I don't think. Not a lot happening on track at the moment. Not too many crashes. You hear a few scrapes in the background, but they don't seem to be major because the screen's not showing onto any crashes. But everyone's just following each other at the moment, keeping it all nice and clean, getting around the track, making sure they don't crock it up right at the start of the race, because I know there's still just under 35 minutes to go now, so probably close to 32 minutes to go. And they know they've got to make it last the entirety of the way, so they pick up a little bit of damage, then that could ruin their entire race until whenever they decide to go on the pit stop.
Urquhart's furthering that lead a fair bit. He's going to be on lap 4. He's got 2.3 seconds. Bradbury even spacing out from White.
A lot of spacing out going on. Top 5 is only 5.5 seconds apart, which isn't too bad, but it's another 5-second jump to go to P6. So there's a fair gap between 5 and 6, and another fair gap. Oh, it's sort of 6 seconds now, 5.5, 6 seconds now. So yeah, it's just starting to spread apart a bit towards the back of the field. The top 5 is still fairly close in the scheme of things. 5 seconds, a lot of people will argue, is huge in race car differences because it takes not much at all to lose 5 seconds, but yeah, it's extremely hard to gain that 5 seconds back. So they're going to be working as hard as they can during this race, and this car and track combo is probably not ideal for these guys, but I mean, it's good for us. I like watching it. Many crashes we can get as long as it's good racing. Looks like there's a battle closing in between James White and Damien Cross. All of that group, actually. James White, Damien Cross and Sam Tucker, by the look of it, all within a few tenths of each other in the braking zone from nose to tail. So it's looking pretty interesting at this point. That might be why they're losing time in the leader, is just they're just trying to attack each other. Stick it, making a fake move there, Sam Tucker. He's just sticking noses out.
Urquhart's lost that. A lot of that gap now. It's down to 0.4. They're going to be feeling a little bit of pressure from Bradbury.
Something might have happened. That was 2.5 seconds or something like that, wasn't it? So he might have grazed the wall and lost a heap of speed.
Oh, and White's just made wall contact down the back on that back straight. Not sure just how hard that wall contact was. He's lost a lot of pace. That's Sam Tucker making a move and getting around. He's even pulling over towards the side. that's allowed Cross to get through.
Damien Cross ran into the back of him too, so he smacked the inside wall and sent him into the tyre barrier. And yeah, Cross had nowhere to go, so he just had to smack the corner into the back of him, but it does look like it was huge damage there. Front of the car still looks okay. A little bit of damage on the front by the looks of it, but other than that, it looks pretty decent.
It's probably at this point as well, he'd most likely be able to get away with coming in and dealing with any damage at this point. Throw into that fuel. The drivers have been able to get about 30 minutes from the cars. So if he goes in, tops up, uses that fast repair now, he's probably going to be able to recatch some ground after that incident by the time the rest of the drivers peel in. Okay, so he's had a nice quick stop, a 12.5 second pit.
I'm just rewinding my screen to try and see what happens to Blake, because if you slide it down a little bit, you can see there is a bit of damage on his front right guard. So I'm just trying to back to the point where he might have smacked the contact with something like that, because he has lost a fair bit of pace.
Still running 10th after having to do that 65-second stop in the pits after that jump start. Philip Buckland looking to get around Russell Gander. Makes a move down the pit straight. Should hopefully have those sound extensions working now.
Entirely sure what happened to her car. I don't think he smacked the wall or anything like that, because I don't know, his pace just plateaued. Going from lap 4, his lap time was 1:18.9, which was only 100th of a second off his best lap time, which was on lap 3, but lap 5 he did a 1:19.6, and then lap 6 was a 1:20.6, the same with 21. Same with lap 7, sorry. So he might be under pressure, he might be struggling with the car. Could be other things going on with his sim rig or hardware issues too, so I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I'm not detecting any contact in my contact tracker. So he appears to have done okay. And he's putting that gap back out again. He's moved it out to 2 seconds almost. After White having that wall contact, it's now just Bradbury and Urquhart mostly at the front, so it's going to be a 10-second gap to the race lead from Sam Tucker. And then Quain a fair bit behind, and he's also heading into the pits.
Could he have had an issue, you reckon?
Maybe see if he's had any contact, maybe just going into pit now, I think. This car's looking pretty good.
Yeah,
just be opting to get some fuel. May have even started the race off with a lighter load. And he's only debuting tonight, so may not have been fully up to scratch with the cap fuel. And he
Might have left his clock.
And wasn't in the driver's pre-race briefing.
Might have just accidentally left his qualifying setup on and only gave him 20 minutes of fuel.
Yeah, there's plenty of times I've still mistakenly done that in a race. It's nothing more frustrating and very easily done. Especially when you leave that default load on session start. It's a very easy mistake to do.
It definitely is. I did a race in the MX-5s because they're going around Bathurst this weekend. I was in a race setup, I just literally just loaded one in, but I had 5 minutes short of fuel that I needed to get to the end, so I had to go into the pits. And I thought it'd just be a chung pits and then duck out. So I had like a 15-second lead on the guy behind me, so I went into the pits and I pulled into my pit bay as the guy behind me went past. But it took 12 seconds to fill up 5 minutes worth of fuel, so that was probably only 3.8 litres I think I took, but I was absolutely spewing with that.
I mean, we've got a bit of a battle between Full Throttle Racing guys. We have Philip Buckland, Nathan Peters and Russell Gander. It was all exchanging positions after the hairpin and going down pit straight. We're currently testing for position 4. Philip Buckland leading the pack. Nathan Peters going for a move, but he pulls out.
That's gone out a little bit now. It's a couple of tenths of a second between all three. It's just it's a green sandwich.
It is. All doing incredibly well. They've had a good run, so we're 12 laps in.
Something I just noticed too was I was just looking at Peters as he went through, and he's taking a lot shallower line through that bit of a sweeper before the final hairpin there, and it looks like it's costing him a little bit of speed because he's lost a couple of tenths on him now.
He did drop back a fair bit. True fancy his choice of line. He's just trying to make up, go a different path to what Buckland was doing. It's definitely cost him. He's got Gander right on his tail now.
Looked like he was trying to make it move going just past the there, so we'll have to watch it outside really closely going through this. I think it makes it a bit looks like Peters is pulling him up even. Not an easy place to pass this track. There's nowhere super stand-out-ish where you can make it pass, because as soon as you try to, like, straights are only a couple hundred metres long, most of them. So if you're not up straight alongside by the exit of the corner, then there's every chance that the guy in front of you that you're trying to make a move is not going to see, and he can easily turn straight down the inside of you and take you both out. So it's extremely hard going around this track. Mistake.
Oh, a little bit slip for everyone there. And I was just about to say that is about the one corner that you can usually gain some ground on the guy ahead. However, it can usually end up very similar, because it can easily have them spin around, especially once they're feeling some pressure from you. They can easily make that mistake by jumping on the throttle.
That was so close to making contact just then.
He went to have a go. It's cost him some pace.
Oh, this is starting to get a bit scary. I'm glad I'm not the team owner of that group.
Oh, he's made contact. That's cost him.
Oh,
That's a pretty hefty hit as well.
Gander won't be able behind him, because that just held him up. That's got a really decent gap on the Buckland in front of them now.
He did end up giving him a little bit of a shunt after that wall hit, and just completely stopped his car in front of him. Hopefully Gander hasn't taken too much damage to that front bar. Wouldn't be be surprised if Peters peels off into the pits now, especially now that we're reaching the halfway point. If there is any damage there, it's probably a good idea to have that contended with now. Mustn't be too bad, he stays out. Run lap 14. Just over 20 minutes remaining, so reaching that halfway point. Blake Urquhart having led for the full 14 laps so far. He's furthering that gap over Bradbury. He's got 2.8 seconds currently. Ooh, a little bit slippery for Bradbury. I think with that little bit of rear slip coming through the final corner, whilst he had lost pace, opting to actually bring that car into the pits.
Peters has gone wide. He's just smacked the tyre barrier. Can't quite see where that is. It's just after, turn 6, I think it is. But he's just lost his position to Gander just then. He got stuck in the tyre barrier.
Solid hit out of all the walls. I suppose it's probably the better one to actually make contact with.
The one tyre barrier that you can hit in the track.
That's it. So all the other ones are in the runoff zones, and if you hit them, it's gonna not matter that they're tyres. Bradbury, a very quick pit stop. Only 9.9 seconds. Cross also having been in pit. Bradbury rejoins back in position 3.
Stephen Banks probably looks still a lap down, so he doesn't look like he can make anything up from here. We're still only halfway through though, so anything can happen, but yeah, it looks like his race might be over. And so will his championship hopes by the looks of that.
Since it's going to definitely open up a big opportunity for that position 2 spot to be taken. He's not going to be sitting in a good spot to be able to take that championship win away from Urquhart. It's only going to be if there's a significant incident that's going to see Urquhart have to head in for a repair. And that definitely can still happen. Sam Tucker's up in P2.
Philip Buckley is still in the pits too, but he stopped on pit entry, so I don't know if he nearly hit the wall there and had to stop to avoid it or something like that, but he looked like he cranked sideways out of that final corner too.
Be interesting just to see how their tyres are going as well.
Yeah, well, the street circuits, you tend to get a lot of fatiguing, especially with the high-speed corners on this track. Like, there is a lot of, like, generally slow-speed corners and 90-degree bends and hairpins on this track, but there are still high-speed corners, and it's the high-speed ones that take everything out of the tyres. They didn't seem to have a big tyre problem at Charlotte though. So
no, they still managed to get through, and it's possibly a lot more hard on the tyres there than it would be Long Beach.
Because even watching all your NASCAR races and even driving with those, like they've got an extremely hard tyre compound just to get them through, but they still being extremely easy. Like they, depending on what the track, like especially at Charlotte, where there's not heaps of banking on any of the corners, so you actually have to use all the tyre grip going through there. Like, it just takes everything out of the tyres. You can't make a full stint like you normally can on super speedways on a set of tyres. On a track like Daytona in the trucks, you can make the entire race, so even stopping for fuel twice, you don't have to put on a set of tyres, it's just that little thing. But on Charlotte, where the ovals, where the banking is a lot flatter, I should say, but the tyres have to work a lot harder to get yourself around there, and it just takes everything out of it. But it I don't know if it'll be a massive problem with these cars anyway, because they're going nowhere near the speeds, and they've got to come from a stop, pretty well a stop. I think it's 100 k's an hour onto the entry of the oval, and they're not there for that long.
We've got a little bit of a battle going on behind Nathan Peters. We've got Damien Cross and James White bunching up. Pagnian has started to pull away a little bit. He's got a couple of seconds ahead of Peters now.
It looks like he might even be, unless he's a little bit worried to go near the walls, he might be covering a little bit.
That was close. White nearly making contact with Cross. And then nearly makes it again. Cross had a lot of oversteer through the hairpin.
Extremely close to going too wide through the high speed part of this straight. He's
Cross is going to go for it. It's ambitious.
No.
I think that would have potentially seen him head towards that wall.
Cross might be having a bit in front of him now. Looks like he might be holding him up a little bit. Might go and get past. He's not going to be in for a really good time with Cross behind him.
The two very closely matched on the championship. I think they're only about 8 points difference.
Peters might have made a small mistake there too, because White's trying to go up the inside of him. Not quite up there yet, but he's definitely trying to stick the nose in. He's making a move.
He's going to be able to get it. He's got the track position, but he's going to have a lot of speed.
Goes up with him.
Yeah. So he makes that wall. Bit too much pace for that tighter line. Cross took advantage of being able to get through there. Makes two positions.
Close enough to try and make another pass on him down at the end of the straight. He's trying to stick the nose up the inside. No, he might be ducking back in behind him. It's not close enough. Yeah, Peters is definitely starting to hold him up now. You can see how much shallower he's being on corner entry and exit compared to White. So he's White's definitely got time behind him.
Peters is yet to head into the pits. Only two drivers not to have pit at this stage is Nathan Peters and Blake Urquhart. Urquhart's going to be pretty fine, so it's been looking to be about adding 30 seconds to the pit stop. And Urquhart's got a 42.9 second lead.
I think Peters has just said on the radio that he's coming in this lap. Give White behind him the heads up, but he still doesn't look like he's having a very good time behind him. You can see how much,
especially when he's chasing Cross down. The two are closely matched for this final standings.
You can see how much speed that he's actually wiping off as going through the final corners that shallow. Like he's not going through there taking that very wide at all, so that's got to cost him heaps of k's an hour.
Oh, he's made contact. I think that was Cross had gone for a spin. We'll go back and see what's going on.
That was Cross. He went wide at the last corner and he got stuck in the tyre barrier. He just
Flying corner.
Had nowhere to go. Oh, spewing. He's got damage.
He's going to have to choke. He's just trying to get that car off the racing line, I think. And he takes it into that runoff area just to get the car turned back around.
I don't know how bad Cross is, but White, the front right panel's not looking very happy and aerodynamic right now.
inside, not looking too good. Be done on turn 1 as well if that car isn't handling nicely. It's a long way to go around.
Hopefully his steering's not too bad.
So with only 10 minutes remaining, if he can last out, it'll be interesting trying to turn right through that hairpin. He stays out on track, so it must be okay. He must have got meatball. It's all drivers now, having been in a pit, they should all have sufficient fuel to get the car home now.
Steering still looks pretty straight on White's car. Cross doesn't look too much different. They both seem to be somewhat okay, but they might be at a little bit straight line speed because they both of them copped a fair whack, I should say.
Yeah, it was a very hard hit. Take it at a fair bit of speed.
Bradbury's just made a move back on the inside. Not entirely sure who it was there. It was number 99.
Yes, that's Nathan Peters.
Peters, yep.
Lapping him now. Urquhart's just gone past. Oh no, he's just coming up to cross now. So lapping position 7. We're 22 laps in with 8 minutes 50 to go. Oh, Cross definitely having some steering issues. He's missed the hairpin, couldn't turn that through. The previous lap it did seem to have had a little bit of understeer.
Looks like Bradbury's closing in on Urquhart. That was last lap 3.7 seconds, now 3.4, so he's just gained a couple of tenths. Urquhart trying to gain as much time as he can. See, he just hit the wall a little bit, like he's only just grazed it, so it doesn't look like it's hurt his performance, but Bradbury's closing in by the looks. Currently 4 cars lapped down. Goes Nathan Peters, Philip Buckland, Damien Cross, and then Stephen Banks. Banks obviously had the stopping penalty from the jump start at the start of the race, but the other 2 have been lapped on pace. The other 3, I should say, have been lapped on pace.
Banks may be able to reclaim a position at this rate. 7.5 minutes remaining, anything can still happen.
That is definitely right. See what the gap in. Robbie's just crossed the line. It's 3.488. So there is 0.08 of a second between the lap times of Bradbury and Urquhart.
Those previous laps very close indeed. I think fastest lap of the race is a 1:19.195. That's by Bradbury. Closest competitor for the championship to Blake Urquhart was Stephen Banks. Very disappointed in himself. He's basically nearly thrown that away before the race had even started with that jump start.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to be happy. I think, depending on what you do at the jump start, you might have to stop and hold for different times, but him jumping and then keeping going, I think he's had to hold for a lot longer than
it is a bit of a gamble with what it's going to be requiring.
Because when I jumped the start at Bathurst, it said probably 43 seconds, I think, off the top of my head to start with, but I came in at pretty well at the end of lap 2 or something like that, and I went down to 7 seconds because I stopped straight away.
Yeah, it probably does. Definitely help. To take less advantage of it, I suppose. It's going to sting you a lot less.
Yeah. I think iRacing UI is just trying to go, oh, you're just trying to gain an advantage. If you keep going, then you're just trying to get as much time as you can, so we're going to slap you even harder. But if you just have a bobble at the start and you stop straight away, and you might have to do a bit less. Gap now between Urquhart and Bradbury's 4.2 seconds. So Urquhart's just gained that little bit of pace back on him.
He's nearly a full second quicker that previous lap. Urquhart's coming up to some more lap cars.
Urquhart, I'm not sure if he skimmed the wall just there, but he definitely went shallow and he got a bit sideways cranking out of there.
That's Gander. He's now lapping. Russell Gander's in P6.
There's definitely cooperation in there too. I was listening to him over the radio and Gander was telling him to shoot past anyway, so...
Oh, Gander's just made wall contact.
Oh, but Urquhart's bloody past him then.
Definitely would have wanted to be behind there on making contact. It's like it just deflected him straight off.
Bradbury, the gap's back down at 3.4. Urquhart must have been really held up by that traffic then.
Yeah, previous lap another second difference, a 120.3 for Urquhart and Bradbury at 119.4.
Yeah, again, it's just let Bradbury through straight away. As soon as he caught up to the back of him, he went really shallow and Bradbury could go wide and past him, so just trying to get as far out of the road as he can from these guys.
That is a very difficult thing to try and do for this track too, because there's not too many opportunities. You don't really want to have another driver start being unpredictable. Especially once they start taking a different line through the corners, it can really throw you off.
The wall. He nicked one of the walls and it fired him into the other one. He's got a little bit of damage. He's still out on the track at the moment. He's just gone through the last ampere now. And he's staying out, so it must still be somewhat drivable. Got a good bit of damage on that front right though.
Banks has moved back up into position 7. Something a lap and a bit ago, he was sitting in 10th position.
I don't think he's awfully far behind Bradbury because he's passing the same people. There's just Gander in front of it at the moment on the standings. Urquhart about to lap Quain as well. But Quain might be just slowing down on the inside. Just letting him pass. He's just lapped him now. I don't think Banks is awfully far behind on track.
No, well, he's only about 8 seconds behind Russell Gander. And his lap times, he's getting some very quick lap times. He's setting in 19.5 that previous lap. He's been very consistent.
Peters is in the wall again.
Who was that? Sorry?
Peters, he was just, he popped up basically the wrong way on my screen just before. I don't know if he's going back again, but it's changed view pretty quick.
I think he's potentially heading in the pits. Oh no, he's letting Sam Tucker through. Tucker not getting as much pace out of that final corner, so he's actually had to tuck back in behind the lap car, and he goes for a move through turn 1. Gets through quickly and cleanly. And he's looking pretty safe for his podium position. With James White a fair way behind, about 22 seconds, trailing from P3. Looking pretty good for Tucker. There's only 50 seconds remaining. Urquhart just crossing the control line now with 40 seconds remaining, so this will be the final lap. White flag will go up as soon as that countdown reaches 0. So that'll happen halfway through this lap. He's got a 3.2 second gap between Bradbury.
Bradbury's actually coming in quickly. At the start of the lap, the gap was 3.6. So I don't know if he's just making a couple of mistakes or cruising to the end, but Bradbury is still closing in fairly quickly.
Yeah, he's getting some pretty consistent low 119s these last few laps. That's about a good 10th difference between himself and Urquhart. So his white flag's being waved. So the final lap of the Pagnian Imports Porsche 911 Championship.
And it looks like the championship is pretty safe in the hands of Urquhart. Banks by the looks kind of come in at P7.
There we are, checkered flag for Urquhart. Bradbury not too far off in the end. Takes P2.
Gap was down to 3.1 seconds by the end of that.
And a good run from Sam Tucker. Very safe in P3. Oh, someone just behind him as well, making wall contact. Not sure if that was Peter's car.
Urquhart still hasn't figured out this burnout thing yet, eh?
He's been trying.
He's not careful, he's doing it right after the finish line, so if he's not careful, he's going to get someone flying in full speed and smash straight into the front of him. Completely smashed the front of his car now.
He was the target last week after his win, so I wouldn't be surprised if they all give him a hit again. Here comes James White.
A lot of bashed up cars in this last straight.
We'll be turning turn 1 into a demolition derby. Yeah, my contact tracker is going haywire. They're having a lot of fun there. So there's James White taking 4th. We time for Michael Quain. Finish up the lap. So Quain's just pulling up the car. Oh, there we go. And Urquhart finally figures out how to do the burnout in this Porsche. We're getting a good amount of noise from these guys as they celebrate a great series. And then we'll bring up those results now. So we are, the final round after 30 laps. Blake Urquhart takes the win. Followed on the podium in position 2 is Robbie Bradbury, and then in P3 is Sam Tucker. And then the rest of the standings, we have James White, Michael Quain, Russell Gander, Stephen Banks, Philip Buckland, Damien Cross, and Nathan Peters. So then we'll jump over and see if the guys are in the interview room ready to go. So we'll be silent as we cross over. We should have his muted here. Congratulations, Blake. That should be a championship win in the bag.
Yeah, thanks, mate. That wasn't much as I expected. Yeah, that was good fun. Had the fastest lap for a few laps until the third lap until Banksy got me. Bit of a shame that Banksy jump started. Would have been a good battle if he didn't. But yeah, cheers for putting it on. Yeah, be back next season.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Congrats on a great series. And then it was good to see you get that burnout figured out for the last round.
Yeah, I had to do it. I finally got it.
Smashed a few walls in between, but you finally got the donut down.
That's it. You got to do a bit of circle work.
That's it. And congratulations, Robbie.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Well done to Blake on tonight's winning the championship, and well done to Sam on grabbing third. It's a pretty uneventful race, really. Just didn't have anything for Blake, really.
Yeah, you were starting to get those quick lap times. I think you ended up securing the fastest lap of the race. Potentially, oh no, actually it's Banks in the end, getting in
Banks,
those
yeah.
last ones, yeah. So 119.053 just scraping in front of you with a 119.195 from you.
Yeah, I think he had a bit of anger in that climb.
Yeah.
It would have been a very interesting race if we didn't have that.
Yes, definitely. I think he would have been right up there. It would have been a very close championship, so he would have been shaking his head from that jump start for sure. And congrats, Sam, getting on the podium. Had a fantastic drive.
Yeah, cheers, boys. First podium of the week, so yeah, straight.
Yeah, well done, and hopefully more to see and start giving these other guys a real good run.
Well, I don't know, they're a bit too quick.
And congratulations, good to see you up there. It was great seeing you out on track and then getting in some very quick laps, even very similar pace as well, so getting in those 119.594 for your fastest, so some very good pace around Long Beach.
Yeah, it was seemed to go alright, Long Beach. Pretty tough track, but have some connection to it, it's good.
Yeah, that's good. Congratulations, guys. Thanks for putting on a good show over the Porsche 911 Championship. And I look forward to seeing you jumping in behind the wheel of the V8s next week.
Yeah,
Cheers,
can't
mate.
wait, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both.
No worries. Congrats, guys.
Everyone.
Yeah, cheers for the season, guys, and yeah, see you next season.
Will do.
Sounds good, mate.
And there we have our podium finishes with Blake Urquhart taking the win, Robbie Bradbury in P2 and Sam Tucker. And then we will be having Ryan leaving us in from the commentary box for next series. He'll be jumping in behind the wheel of the V8, but we will be jumping on board. He's going to be still getting his voice out on the stream and doing a qualifying hot lap for us and talking about the track. So we're going to give that a go. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So thanks for tuning in for our series. It's been great to have you along. Do hit that follow button if you haven't done so already. And then we've got more racing action coming up next week with the start of our Pagnian Imports Supercars Championships. You'll be able to see the ZB Commodore and Mustang GP battle it out, and it's great to be able to actually throw in 4 Australian tracks. So we'll be heading off to Oran Park, Winton Motor Raceway, Phillip Island and Bathurst Mount Panorama. And then if only we had been able to see that Sandown come along, we could have almost had that in for round 4, but we're doing Road America, which is still a great course to be able to do in the V8 Supercars. So do stay tuned for that, and there's more Porsche action if you love your Porsches this Thursday night for the final rounds of the Porsche Cayman Cup on Project Cars 2. So thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you trackside next time.